We have a right to protest, to peacefully protest, of course. Peaceful in this context does not mean quiet. It means non-violent. The purpose of protesting is to attract attention to a perceived deficit, injustice, or overreach, and trying to remedy it. And this will usually mean a degree of noise and a presence that will have to be negotiated by passers-by, such as the price of democracy. The protester is looking to persuade others to address the protester's concerns, and therefore a protest which is made quietly around the corner, where no one can see you or hear you, is in fact not a protest at all. If a man shouts alone in a remote field, is he making a protest?
It is long accepted that, in a democracy, all may have their opinion heard, not necessarily agreed with or put into effect, but heard. Peaceful protest is, in fact, one of the surest indicators of a healthy democracy. After all, peaceful protest has gotten many Russians arrested, or worse, and our political class insist, and I agree, that Russia is bad. Don't be like Russia, or take money from Russia, for that matter, but I get ahead of myself. Those protesting will usually be in a power deficit compared to those they protest against. The government has all the resources. It can go to court, enact laws, and has the power to deploy the police. That is why citizens may be compelled to resort to protest.
Protest is an effort to leverage a position of little power against a position of great power. In a democracy, this can often mean leveraging popular opinion so that it will bear upon the powerful who, to some extent at least, in a democracy, do depend upon a certain popularity to retain office.
And this requires publicity. People need to know about the protester and their cause. These days, social media allows anyone to access an international audience, in principle at least. But it's a competitive field. However, as we at SODEM have found, it can be possible to gain some limited access to traditional media and its immense reach. So SODEM does that.
Waiting time targets are being missed pretty much across the board.
We've got a minority government, and what we've seen...
It's a disaster!
The Labour Party staff. He'd spent the weekend at Chequers, his prime ministerial retreat after what was clearly an extremely bruising week.
SODEM's agenda is that Brexit is bad, that those who instigated it did so dishonestly, are often corrupt, and that there is by now a whole heap of evidence in support of this assessment. However, traditional media, politicians, commentators and critics have, with a few exceptions, shown a notable reluctance to vigorously confront these matters. We at SODEM surmise that this reluctance may be because the whole sorry mess of where the UK is now highlights the inadequacies, deficiencies, failures, and sometimes outright mendacity of both politicians and commentariat. As polls have shown for more than 3 years now, there is a majority in the UK in favour of rejoining the EU. Indeed, a sizable majority in the 16 to 24-year-old demographic. We, that is, SODEM, persist in challenging the architects and champions of a project that appears to have been nothing more than a Russian plot to destabilise Europe, preparatory to invasion.
Release the Russia report!
This plot exploited the venality of an elite intent upon tax evasion and the ignorance of a sector of the population unable to identify who those actually responsible for the nation's mounting woes were. I say they were unable to identify those people responsible for our woes because those people were, largely, the venal elite intent upon tax evasion. And the ignorant embraced the venal elite as their heroes. Well, who doesn't get a warm, fuzzy glow when a posh boy smiles? The complicity in maintaining this diseased and unwanted Brexit 10 years after the referendum, be it a sin of omission or commission, is, in effect, a complicity in Putin's killing of hundreds of thousands of our fellow human beings. It must be admitted that, even as it implied a deficit on the part of the commentariat and the political class, SODEM's efforts to deride key figures have often been welcomed.
Staying with GB News, would you like to see from earlier this week the Conservative leadership hopeful Robert Jenrick's appearance backed by some of his most loyal supporters?
Yes. Well, look, the High Street is in a real mess at the moment. What we've said as Conservatives is that we want to get rid of business rates for businesses with rateable values of £100,000 or less.
Or at least they were for as long as Tories were the butt of the joke. But here's the thing. SODEM is not party political.
We would like to be supportive of Labour because we know from our protesting of their party conferences that most of the Labour Party is in broad accord with our take on Brexit. But Starmer's red lines were obstacles to advancing on that, for all that he made some small attempts to cherry-pick an enhanced relationship with the EU.
Cherry-picked efforts were always going to fail. Cherry-picking is an existential threat to the EU. Starmer may have been sympathetic to SODEM's ultimate aims, but he lacked the courage and will to pursue and enact them. In this regard, he was, therefore, no better than May, Johnson, Truss, or Sunak.
Steve played Ode to Joy over Sir Keir Starmer's resignation.
After years of disappointment and despair, the chance to change the lives of millions of people for the better. That's what I came into politics for.
Remember, we also played Bye Bye Boris at Johnson's resignation.
Those funds now and in the future is because we Conservatives understand the vital symmetry between government action and free market, capitalist, private sector enterprise.
I predict a riot at Truss's.
I want to thank Hugh, Francis Liberty, my family and friends, and all the team at Number 10 for their love, friendship and support. I also want to
We played Things Could Only Get Better as Sunak announced the general election in the rain, which was, in effect, his resignation.
We have reached two major milestones in delivering that stability, showing that when we work together, anything is possible. Our economy is now growing faster than anyone predicted, outpacing Germany, France and the United States. And this morning it was confirmed that inflation is back to normal. This means that
When we did that, Lewis Goodall of the newsagents described Steve as a prankster. At the behest of Hugh Grant, we played the Benny Hill theme to accompany the comings and goings of Johnson in office. And going way back, Steve can be heard shouting during May's goodbye speech.
Who's been my greatest supporter and my closest companion.
That wasn't me.
All of which was received, not universally, but generally as scampish satire upon an incompetent and quite possibly corrupt ruling class and their utter, total, signal and absolute failure to get to grips with a post-Brexit Britain.
Look at what we've achieved.
So, Steve played Ode to Joy over Sir Keir Starmer's resignation. The likes of Andrew Neil were, of course, irate, but his sort always had been.
Just before I answer that, can I just say, as regards to this music that was blaring out in the background, as a country, these events, what the Prime Minister has just done there is a great historic event. It's part of our democratic history. And we allow some idiot to blare out this music and get in the way of all of us having to hear it, almost make a joke over it. Why are the police not empowered to round this guy up and get him out? He must be breaking the decibel.
Note the authoritarian impulse, the fear of derision more than any violence, the insistence that people should be locked up, that the police should be deployed with no regard for constitutional rights of protest. That had been a standard attitude with certain types all along. Suddenly, however, James O'Brien is getting on board with the authoritarian impulse, when he'd seemed a great fan of our practice before.
Less persuasive, but I agree. I think that Steve Bray is his name, isn't it? I think he has delighted us for long enough.
And Lewis Goodall, who had once described Steve as a prankster, now saw fit to brand Steve as a yob.
The hypocrisy was clear. You do it to a Tory, and they cheer, or at least smile. But we were not to presume to touch sacred labour. This hypocrisy, however, has fueled a deeper and darker and far more malign move. We shall examine in the next video.
To bring Europe to its knees. Didn't work though. But Ukraine has resisted, and Nathan Hughes convicted. 10 years. And how is small when you're roll on trial, and the judge throws away the key.
If you've enjoyed this video, you know the score. Like, comment, share, subscribe to the account, and I'll make many, many more.